Well, hello and welcome to the Legal Gym Podcast. This is episode 002 of the podcast, and today we're going to be talking about what to do after you form your LLC. So in case you missed it, in episode 001, we discussed how to start your LLC, and so I recommend going back and listening to that episode first, unless you already have an LLC, in which case you're in the right place. And before we get going today, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or wherever else you listen to your podcast, and don't forget also to leave us a rating and review, which is going to help us to get picked up in the algorithm so that we can help even more online entrepreneurs to get paid, get protected, and get themselves legally legit. Now, as I mentioned, today you're about to learn what you need to do after you get your LLC documents back from the state to make sure that your corporate veil remains intact. For those of you that don't know what the corporate veil is, it's basically this big bubble over your LLC where it protects your business assets from your personal liabilities, and it protects your personal liabilities from your business assets. So this is part of the first pillar of my Lock It Down legal protection system, and it is incredibly important because most people get their LLC paperwork back from the state. They check filing their LLC off their to-do list, they pat themselves on the back, they file that paperwork in a drawer, and they go about their business thinking, yay, I just formed my LLC, I'm good to go. But when you do that, you are basically wasting all the time, effort, and money you spent in registering your LLC because you aren't going to have any of those legal protections that you need for your personal assets or your business. And not to mention, you're going to be losing out on all the tax benefits that come with forming an LLC. Again, we're going to be talking about those issues and those benefits in a future podcast episode. Now, this might be resonating with some of you out there, and if so, that's great because this episode is going to be incredibly valuable to you. So pull out your notepad or your favorite notes app, grab a cup of coffee or your favorite adult beverage, and buckle up as we get into what you need to do legally to protect the LLC that you just formed. Thank you so much for listening in on today's episode. Before we get to the content, I just want to give you a quick reminder that although I am a lawyer, I am not your lawyer. Nothing I talk about in today's episode should be construed as legal advice of any kind. So if you have questions about today's topic and how it might apply to you or your unique situation, your best bet is going to be to contact a lawyer in your city or state. All right, now we got that covered. Back to the episode. There are 6 steps in this process that I've mapped out here today. And we're going to go through them one by one and talk about the reasons why you need to do each of these steps. So step number 1, after you get that LLC paperwork back from the state, the very first thing you need to do is you need to register for an EIN number. That's an employer identification number. You're going to do this at the IRS website. This is going to register your business with the IRS for tax purposes. It's easy to do. It takes about 5 minutes. You can do it online. The biggest thing that you need to understand when you do this is that you must, I can't say this enough, remember to save the letter that you're going to get from the IRS. So if you do this online, they're going to give you a couple different options. You can also do it over the phone, I believe, or you can mail in some paperwork. But the easiest way to do it is to do it online. They are going to, I don't know if they email it to you or if it just gets downloaded directly to your computer, but they're going to give you a letter. And that letter is going to tell you what your employer identification number is. This is going to be the only notification you will ever receive about this number. So if you lose it, if you delete it off your hard drive, if you do anything like that, then it's going to be a big problem for you because you're going to have to go back and probably wait on hold for hours with the IRS to figure out what that number was. And you need to make sure you have that number because you need that number for everything else that we're going to do in terms of getting your LLC protected. So that's the first step. Get that EIN number and then make sure you save that letter you get from the IRS in a safe spot where you're going to remember where it is. I prefer to print that puppy out and you're going to put it in a legal binder, which I'm going to talk to you about here in step number 6. But let's go with just step number 1, get that EIN number. Now, step number 2 is you need to get an operating agreement. This is a contract between you and your business. Honestly, you're the only one that's going to sign it unless you have business partners. If you do have business partners, I'm going to give you a little caveat here, and that's that you probably do need to seek out some legal help because there's a lot of additional issues that come up if you have business partners that you're not going to need to worry about if it's just you as a solopreneur. So let's assume you're a solopreneur. You're going to need to get that operating agreement. If you don't have an operating agreement, then what's going to happen is if you ever have any issues that come up or you get sued or something else happens, then your LLC is going to be deemed to have defaulted to whatever the rules are in your individual state. Now, that is generally speaking bad because, number one, most people don't know what those rules are, so they don't even know what they should be doing or shouldn't be doing. And number two, it just shows another reason why if somebody is suing you and trying to pierce your corporate veil, they're going to say, hey, they don't even have an operating agreement, so how do we even know they're a legitimate business? This is an LLC in name only. Again, that's bad. So you can find lots of templates online. If you'd like to support us, support the channel, you can visit shop.hawthornelaw.net, and we have an operating agreement in there. It's listed at 50% off right now, so you can save some money, support the channel. We would appreciate it. Just go to shop.hawthornelaw.net. That's step number 2. Step number 3 is you need to go ahead and open up a bank account. So you're going to take that operating agreement that you have, you're going to take your EIN number, and you're going to go to the bank and you're going to open up a business banking account. This is the biggest mistake I see people make in this aspect of setting up their LLC is that they're commingling funds. What's that mean? That means they're putting personal funds into business bank accounts. They're using business bank accounts as their personal slush fund. And that's generally speaking a problem. That's going to show again that you are not actually operating a legitimate business. Don't make the mistake of using your business bank account as your personal bank account. I will do another entire episode on how to make sure that you set your business bank account up correctly and how to use it correctly. But for now, just know you need to set up that business bank account, and then you put business funds in the business bank account. Business expenses go out of the business bank account. If you need to use that account for personal reasons, or you need to take money or a draw from that business bank account, then you can write yourself a check, deposit it into your personal bank account, and then spend the money. But do not use the funds in your business bank account for personal expenses. Something to know. Now, do your research. Pick a bank that you're comfortable with. Make sure they've got an easy-to-use online banking system. I mean, hey, you're an online entrepreneur. You like to do stuff online. Don't pick a bank that doesn't have an online system that is easy to use. Any of the major banks, the national banks are good. They might be less personal. You might want something that's closer to home, but pick a bank that you like and open up that business bank account. You can always change that later. Make sure you pick one that you're comfortable with. Step number 4 is you need to calendar some important deadlines. Now, each state is going to have different requirements in terms of annual reports. Some states don't require that you file annual reports at all. Some states you need to file an initial report that happens between 90 and 120 days after you file your LLC. So you need to make sure that you're following the appropriate legal requirements of the state where you filed your LLC. Some of the harder states like New York and it's either Arizona or New Mexico, I can't remember, you have to actually publish in a newspaper. So that's something that you need to make sure that happens the right way. So make sure you calendar these important deadlines on your Google Calendar or wherever you keep track of important dates in your life. I have the dates set for when you need to file those annual reports. If you think that you're going to be filing an S Corp, and I'll do again another podcast episode on this, if you think you're going to be filing an S Corp, make sure you calendar that in your date book because you have to file the form to elect S Corp status within 75 days of when your LLC is formed. And if you're keeping track at home, that's 2.5 months, which goes by really fast if you're not paying attention. The other important thing that you need to make sure that you're keeping track of is estimated taxes. Now, if you don't have any income coming in just yet or any revenue for your business, not as big of an issue, but if you're generating revenue or significant revenue, then you may need to pay estimated taxes. I would recommend you talk to an accountant about that. So the 5th thing you need to do is make sure you sign up for a payroll provider. The service provider that I recommend and the one that I love is Gusto. Again, this is going to depend on your level of income and if you're an S Corp or not. If you're not an S Corp, you don't necessarily need to sign up with a payroll provider just yet unless you're going to be hiring employees. If you are an S Corp, you're definitely going to need to set up with a payroll provider. And again, the one that I recommend is Gusto. You can sign up at hawthornelaw.net/payroll. And that again is an affiliate link that'll support the channel, and we appreciate your supporting us. The last thing that you need to do is number 6, you need to make sure that you stay compliant. And what do I mean by that? Well, that means you need to do things like sign your contracts correctly. Make sure you enter contracts correctly. If you're going to enter a contract with somebody And if they put your personal name down on the contract as opposed to your business name, that's a problem. You want to make sure they list your LLC as the party to the contract. Make sure that you are conducting annual meetings if they're required. And oftentimes they're not required, but they also can be a nice way to generate some tax savings for you if you can do an annual meeting, maybe time it with a vacation somewhere, and there might be some tax benefits to you for that. Again, talk to an accountant, make sure you're doing that correctly. In terms of staying compliant, make sure you document everything that you're doing in your business. Now, when I say everything, you got to take that with a grain of salt, right? If you go to the office store to buy office supplies, probably don't need to document that. But if you're purchasing some new computers for your office, you might want to have some legal documentation that says the members met and we agreed that we need some new computers for the business. And so we purchased these computers and we estimate it's going to cost this amount of money. And that's good. And then you're going to document that. And then you're going to put all those documents, the annual meetings and the contracts and everything into a corporate binder. That's something I'm working on right now, is a binder that you'll be able to purchase from us. I do not have it available right now, but if you go to shop.hawthornelaw.net, we will make sure to put up a pre-sale for that. So if that's something you'd like to get, you can go ahead and order that in our online store. And so that's how you make sure that your LLC is set up correctly to keep you protected. But even if you do all of this correctly, you're still going to have some legal holes in your online business. There's so many different things that you need to be thinking about when it comes to legally protecting your business. And to help you fix those holes, I've created the Ultimate Business Legal Checklist that's going to give you a list of all the things that you need to do to get your business legally legit so that you can get paid and get protected. So head over to hawthornelaw.net/ultimate and download your checklist today. And again, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcast. Thanks so much for listening today, folks, and we will talk to you again next week.